When Allen Iverson dribbled onto the court, it wasn't just a game, it was personal. Whether you double-teamed him, taunted him, or simply underestimated him, the scoreboard would settle the score. From Miami to LA, from childhood idols to face slaps, Iverson turned every slight into a spectacle. Kobe Bryant once put it simply,
Michael Jordan, Allen Iverson are the two that come to mind immediately because they were relentless. And Michael, his relentlessness was amazing. And Scotty's as well, both ends before. And then my generation, AI was much the same. I mean, from opening to the end, I mean, this guy was just going and going and going. He'd always put you in jeopardy.
5 times Allen Iverson sought revenge isn't just a highlight reel, it's the story of a warrior born small in stature, but mighty in spirit. So buckle up, within the next 35 minutes, you're gonna live 5 unforgettable moments when Allen Iverson made the basketball world answer for crossing him. This is Payback, Philly style, with scars on the court and fury in the music. This is the kind of story we live for here at Amazing Hoops. The rivalries, the legends, the moments when a single insult becomes the spark for basketball's most ruthless performances. So if you love the sport, if you crave the drama, the history, and the greatness, hit subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and join us courtside. And right now, without making you wait a second longer, this is 5 Paybacks, Philly style, with scars on the court and fury in the music of Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson wasn't just competitive, he was hardwired for payback. For him, the scoreboard was more than a place to track points. It was a ledger, and every slight, every block, every smirk from an opponent got entered into it. If you blocked his shot, he'd remember. If you laughed when he bricked a jumper, he'd store it away. And if you had the audacity to embarrass him in front of a crowd, well, you'd better hope the schedule didn't bring you back into his path, because the rematch wasn't going to be about basketball. It was going to be about balance. This wasn't malice, it was pride. A different kind of pride, the kind forged in Hampton, Virginia, a place where respect was earned, not given, as 2 former NBA players put it.
Left 20 gallons of sweat on the court every game. That's AI.
Iverson made you proud to be part of the NBA. That guy was so good, so tough.
Growing up there, Iverson learned early. If someone got over on you, you didn't sulk, you didn't hide. You answered. That mindset followed him to Georgetown, where Coach John Thompson saw it right away. Thompson famously said, "I wasn't saving Allen Iverson for Georgetown. I was saving Allen Iverson for Allen Iverson." It meant shielding him from the noise, but never dulling the fire that made him dangerous. By the time he stepped into the NBA as the #1 pick in 1996, that fire was a 5-alarm blaze. His rookie season, he wasn't just going at average defenders. He was challenging the best in the league, calling their number, testing himself against legends. Pierce confided,
I'm not even gonna lie to you, Rage. I didn't match up with him, but I knew I was in situations in pick and roll where I switched out on him. And I'm not gonna lie, I was scared to death because I could play defense and all, but I knew I couldn't slide my feet with Allen Iverson. Because every night when you looked up at the Sports Center highlights, he was crossing somebody, he was putting somebody in the mix. And so all I knew was when I switched on him, I was gonna give him that Olay defense. I was gonna I'm gonna let him do his move, and I'm gonna let him go.
He didn't care if your name was Jordan, Peyton, or Starks. You were just the next man in line. Larry Brown, his coach in Philly, once said, Allen didn't care who it was. If you were in front of him, you were in trouble. It was more than physical skill, though the skill was otherworldly. The crossover was lethal, the first step blinding. The finish in traffic absurd for someone listed at 6 feet tall. But what made Iverson truly unstoppable was what happened in his head. He treated the NBA like a long series of personal duels. Each possession was a chance to even a score, prove a point, or send a message. That mentality produced some of the most unforgettable revenge stories in league history. From torching Dan Majerle after being locked up months earlier, to silencing Tyronn Lue after a finals taunt, to pulling up over Anthony Carter seconds after a forearm to the face, Iverson's game was littered with examples of this mindset in action. And it wasn't always loud. Sometimes his revenge was quiet, just a look, a nod, and a bucket. Sometimes it was iconic, like the stepover, a moment so cold it froze in time. But it was always deliberate, always personal. Fans didn't just watch Allen Iverson, they felt him. As one commentator once put it during a Sixers broadcast, when Allen locks in, You can see it in his eyes. Somebody's about to get it. That was the thrill. You never knew when the switch would flip, only that when it did, it was too late for the poor soul guarding him. So as we walk through these 5 moments, keep this in mind. None of them were accidents. They were all part of the same code. The code that started on the playgrounds of Hampton, survived the battles at Georgetown, and exploded under the lights of the NBA. Because to Allen Iverson, revenge wasn't just a reaction. It was an art form. The Sixers came into Miami riding high. 3 straight wins. Allen Iverson averaging a scorching 28. 1 point per game. Confidence was in the air. Then came Dan Majerle. At 34, the veteran wasn't the high-flying Thunder Dan from Phoenix anymore, but he had something Iverson hated running into. Strength, positioning, and a mean streak on defense. From the opening tip, Majerle stuck to him like duct tape. Every drive turned into a collision. Every screen Majerle fought through. He pushed Iverson wide, cut off the angles, and forced him into contested fadeaways. By halftime, you could see the frustration bubbling. Allen Iverson wasn't getting clean looks. Then came the dagger. Late in the fourth, with Miami already in control, Majerle muscled his way to an and one, absorbing contact and finishing at the rim. The Heat closed it out, 91-78. The postgame storylines weren't subtle. Majerle locks up Iverson, ran in local papers. On television, one commentator chuckled. That's a masterclass from the vet. Big body, hard fouls, and enough gas to frustrate the fastest man on the court. Even Tim Hardaway recalled the plan years later.
Dan, didn't know everybody thought I was going to come and stick him. I wanted to come and stick him, but coach said, no, we're going to put Dan on him, bigger, stronger, not faster, but just bigger, stronger, and Dan did a good job.
Majerle himself was blunt afterward. We just wanted to make him work for everything. Bigger, stronger. That was the game plan. For Iverson, that was more than a quote. It was a challenge. He'd been stopped before, but not by someone whose best days were supposedly behind him. Majerle's physical defense hadn't just slowed him, it had dented his pride. And if there's one thing about Allen Iverson, it's that every dent becomes a debt. The question was never if he'd pay it back, but when. A few months later, the answer came due. January 5th, 2000, Wachovia Center. Same teams, same matchup, but this time it was on Iverson's court, under Iverson's lights. The Philly crowd hadn't forgotten the headlines, and neither had Allen Iverson. You could feel it during warm-ups. Eyes locked, jaw set. From the opening tip, Iverson went straight at Majerle. No probing, no testing, just straight hunting. Quick pull-ups before the help could arrive, hesitation moves that froze Majerle mid-stride, and crossovers so violent they drew audible gasps. As one commentator put it that night,
I think he's a misunderstood person as far as a competitor. This guy is a fierce competitor who wants to win. Now, sometimes he might be overzealous in his efforts to win because he thinks he has to score a lot of points. But don't underestimate him as a team player and as a defender. He loves to allow his man to appear open and then come in the passing lanes and get steals.
In the third quarter came the moment. Isolated at the top, Allen Iverson hit Majerle with a double crossover, left to right, then back left, leaving him flat-footed. Iverson slid into the lane, kissed it high off the glass, and landed with a smirk. Oh, that's vintage Iverson. Majerle's got no chance on that one. Majerle, to his credit, kept grinding, but the message was clear. There would be no repeat of Miami. By the final buzzer, the Sixers had blown the game open, and Iverson's line read like a statement. 37 points, 9 assists, 4 steals. After the game, a Philly beat reporter wrote, "If Miami thought Majerle had the blueprint, Iverson just burned it." Even former teammate Eric Snow said later, Allen didn't just want to win that game, he wanted Dan to feel it. Revenge for Iverson wasn't about getting even. It was about tipping the scale all the way back. And on that night in Philly, the scale snapped. The 6th of June, 2001, Staples Center. The Los Angeles Lakers were a machine, undefeated in the postseason, steamrolling everyone in their path. The Sixers? They were supposed to be another statistic. Vegas had the Lakers as double-digit favorites in Game 1. Analysts openly predicted a sweep. But if there's one thing Allen Iverson didn't care about, it was your prediction. From the opening tip, AI came out swinging. The Lakers tried Derek Fisher, they tried Kobe Bryant, and it didn't matter. Iverson hit floaters in the lane, step backs over outstretched hands, and slashed through the paint like a man carving through fog. By halftime, he had 30 points on the board, and the Lakers' perfect playoff run suddenly looked fragile. That's when Phil Jackson made the switch. He sent in Tyronn Lue, a 6-foot guard whose quickness, low center of gravity, and willingness to chase Iverson over every screen made him a defensive pest. It worked, at least at first. Iverson went ice cold, scoring just 3 points in the next 15 minutes. The Staples crowd roared every time Lue cut him off. The broadcast showed a graphic that told the story. Iverson before Lue entered, 38 points in 29 minutes. After Lue entered, 3 points in 15 minutes. And then came the moment that lit the fuse. Midway through the fourth, with the Lakers rallying, Lue forced a miss and turned to Iverson with a smirk, holding up 2 fingers, mocking that he'd only let him score 2. The commentators were eating it up. Lue's in his head right now. Iverson can't get free. In the finals, trash talk can be deadly. Against Allen Iverson, it can be suicide. Overtime. Game tied at 101. The Lakers were still unbeaten in the playoffs. Still dangerous. Still the favorite to walk away with the trophy. But this was Iverson's moment. His ledger. He got the ball on the right wing, Lue in his stance. A jab step, a hard dribble left, a sudden step back. Pure separation. Lue lunged, lost balance, and hit the floor just as the ball splashed through the net. And then, without breaking eye contact, Iverson did what would become one of the most replayed moments in NBA history. He stepped right over Lue's chest and walked away like it was just another Tuesday in Philly. The crowd gasped. The Sixers bench exploded. The play wasn't just a bucket, it was a declaration. The Sixers would go on to win 107-101, handing the Lakers their only loss of the entire 2001 playoffs. After the game, Iverson made it clear the battle was personal. He was holding me the whole time. We were battling, but I had to get that one. Shaquille O'Neal later recalled, "When AI hit that shot and stepped over Tyronn, man, it was over." That's one of the coldest things I've ever seen in the finals. The Sixers didn't win the series. The Lakers would take it in 5. But in that single sequence, Iverson did something that almost no one had managed in that postseason. He put doubt in the minds of the champs. The image of him stepping over Tyronn Lue became a cultural landmark, printed on posters, painted on murals, even stitched into sneakers years later. Tyronn Lue himself, years later, admitted the sting never fully went away. You play your whole career, you make the finals, and all anyone wants to talk about is the step over. But hey, that's history. Hey. For Iverson, it was just another entry in the book of debts collected. Lue's defense may have slowed him for a stretch, but in the end, the scoreboard and the highlight reel belonged to the answer. And that's the beauty of Iverson's revenge. It wasn't loud at first, but when it came, it was unforgettable. Game 1 wasn't just a win, it was a warning. Don't poke the man who plays every game like it's personal. By December of the 2001-2002 season, Tyronn Lue was in a New Jersey. The Lakers had moved on from their finals run, and Lue was now wearing the colors of the Washington Wizards. But uniforms don't erase history, and if you were in Philadelphia that night, you could feel it. The unfinished business between Allen Iverson and the man he had famously stepped over just 6 months earlier. This wasn't the finals. No championship stage, no primetime spotlight. But for Iverson, this wasn't about banners or rings. It was personal. The finals had been a high-stakes chess match. This was a street game played under NBA lights. From the opening tip, it was clear Lue hadn't changed his approach. Same crouch stance, same quick feet, same hand checking on the perimeter. And according to those who were courtside, the same subtle trash talk. Stay in front of him. You could hear the Wizards bench saying Lue had been the irritant in June, the one who'd slowed Iverson just enough to give the Lakers an edge. But in Iverson's mind, the ledger wasn't settled. Not until they met again, one-on-one, without the shadow of Shaq and Kobe in the background. Midway through the second quarter, the moment arrived. Iverson caught the ball on the right wing just outside the arc. Lue shaded him left, trying to cut off the driving lane. Iverson toyed with the dribble, pound dribble right, rock back left, then a lightning-quick crossover that sent Lue's feet crossing over themselves. The crowd reacted instantly, a mix of gasps and laughter, as Lue stumbled to recover. 2 steps into space, Iverson rose into his mid-range jumper. The release was pure muscle memory. High arc, perfect rotation, net. No celebration, no step over, No raised fist, just a long, cold look in Lue's direction as they ran back down the court. The silent message written on his face. I remember. The announcers felt it too. Oh, Iverson just shook Lue again. Same victim, different year. It didn't make SportsCenter's top 10 the next morning. There was no viral social media clip. This was 2001, long before Twitter and YouTube highlights. But that was never the point. Iverson's revenge didn't have to be loud to be final. This was a personal closure, a subtle signature on the same canvas where the stepover had been painted. Years later, Lue would talk about how the finals moment followed him everywhere. Tyronn Lue, years later on the Old Man and the Three podcast, said,
You know what's crazy? Because, okay, first of all, like just growing up, and he's only like 2 years older than me, but I still idolized him. Like, just coming into the league, he was already in the league 2 or 3 years before me. And just like, it was Jordan, then it was, AI. Like that's who I looked up to, 6 foot, braids, fast, so I don't think I ever said that, but I looked up to him, so having the opportunity and chance to play against him in the finals, and he did that, made the move in the step over, but it wasn't really a big deal. Like people go crazy, like he crossed me over, I fell down, and then he shot and he stepped, he snatched it back, I contested it, I fell, and he stepped over me.
You fell on the contest?
Yeah, I fell on the contest. I stepped on his foot, I rolled my ankle a little bit, fell down, he made a shot and stepped over me, like, oh, I have to step over. I'm like, okay, well, it's AI, and so I don't mind. That's my guy, but it's not like he crossed me over, I fell, then rolled over, and he shot and stepped over me.
It's funny. People think about one play and think that's the whole game. But I knew, if Allen got you once, he was coming back again and again. That's what this game was. Not a highlight for the masses, but a reminder for the man who had once pointed at a graphic on national television, showing Iverson's scoring drop when he entered the floor. The roles had reversed. This time, Lue wasn't holding Iverson down. He was watching him rise up and knock it down. In the quiet way only great competitors understand, Allen Iverson had crossed another name off the list. Some players respond to cheap shots with shoves, words, or a trip to the referee. Allen Iverson had a different policy. He responded with buckets. Clean, sharp, scoreboard-altering buckets. It was a regular season night against the Miami Heat, a team that always seemed to bring out Iverson's competitive edge. They were physical, disciplined, and never shy about testing the limits of the rulebook on defense. And guarding Iverson that night was Anthony Carter, a scrappy point guard known more for hustle than headlines. On one possession, Carter crowded Iverson up high, cutting off space and leaning into his chest. Then it happened, a sharp forearm to Iverson's face. Not an accident, not a brush. A deliberate bump to let him know he was going to have to earn it tonight. Iverson stumbled back a step, blinking. The referee's whistle stayed silent. The crowd let out that collective noise, half gasp, half brewing anger. But Iverson's reaction wasn't to scowl or jaw back. Instead, the camera caught it. That small, knowing smirk, not the smile of someone amused, but the kind that says, "You just made a mistake." The Sixers brought the ball up on the next possession, and everyone in the building could feel it. Carter stayed tight, perhaps thinking he'd gotten in Iverson's head. Instead, he was standing in the exact spot Iverson wanted him to be. A quick jab step, a shift in rhythm, and Iverson rose from well beyond the arc. Perfect release. The ball dropped through without touching the rim. Swish. On the way back down the court, Iverson's eyes found Carter's, and he let it rip. Can't guard me. The building erupted. Even the commentators couldn't help but underline it. Oh, that's cold. Carter slaps, Iverson splashes. It wasn't a dunk. It wasn't an ankle breaker. But that's what made it so perfect. There was no flash, just the kind of cold surgical reply that leaves no room for debate. Carter had tried to send a message with contact. Iverson answered with the scoreboard. Former teammate Aaron McKee later explained it best. When you hit Allen, you're not slowing him down. You're putting yourself on the list. And when you're on that list, he's coming for you. That was the essence of Iverson's competitive fire. You couldn't intimidate him physically because the real fight was never in the body. It was in the will, and his will was bulletproof. From a tactical standpoint, Carter's forearm might have been intended to disrupt Iverson's rhythm. Instead, it sharpened his focus. After that play, Iverson attacked relentlessly, mixing drives with pull-ups, forcing switches, and keeping Miami on its heels. By the end of the night, the forearm was just a forgotten stat in the play-by-play. The three-pointer and the words that followed were what everyone remembered. Because for Iverson, revenge didn't need to trend. It didn't need to go viral. It just needed to happen. And once it did, you'd feel it long after the buzzer. For Allen Iverson, Michael Jordan wasn't just another player. He was the player, the blueprint, the poster on the wall, the man whose highlight tapes he wore thin as a kid in Hampton, Virginia. Iverson modeled his competitive fire after Jordan's, carried that swagger into Georgetown, and brought it with him to the NBA. So when the 1997 All-Star Weekend rolled around in Cleveland, Iverson's rookie season, he expected their first real interaction to be one of mutual respect. Instead, Jordan looked him up and down, cracked a grin, and greeted him with, "What's up, you little?" Iverson laughed, kept moving, but that line burned into his memory. To AI, it wasn't just banter. It was a seed. And like all seeds planted in Iverson's mind, it was destined to grow into something. Exactly 1 month later, the Bulls came to Philadelphia. Chicago was 54-6, riding high with Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and Dennis Rodman. For most rookies, guarding Michael Jordan was the dream. For Iverson, having Michael Jordan guard him was the opportunity. Third quarter. Iverson dribbled at the top of the key. Jordan squared up. The crowd recognized the matchup instantly. The buzz in the First Union Center rose like a storm. One dribble right, hesitation, then a lightning-quick crossover to the left. Jordan bit. Iverson yanked it back right. Jordan lunged to recover, but it was too late. Iverson rose, fired, and the jumper dropped. The place erupted. Commentator Steve Mix shouted over the noise, "He got Jordan. Allen Iverson has just crossed over Michael Jordan." It wasn't just a bucket. It was a declaration. The rookie had taken the mantle, if only for a moment, from the man who defined the era. Years later, Iverson would recall how much that moment meant, not just as a highlight, but as a personal answer to that all-star slight.
I knew that I was telling all my friends and my family that if I ever got a chance, if he ever guarded me, that I was gonna try my move on the greatest player to ever play. So I knew I was gonna do it. When he got on me, that's why I backed up. I said, oh, here we go. I didn't get nervous. And I was, like you said, just young, you know what I mean, and just confident. So my heart won't thumping or nothing like that. I won't, you know what I mean? I did it like I would do it any other time. You know, I done caught millions of people with it. You know what I mean? And I got him, but I've gotten people way worse than him, but it's him.
It's him.
You know what I mean? So that's the big deal. It was, I don't know, man. That night I was like, damn, you know, but we had lost, so it was bittersweet.
Yeah.
And Jordan, in classic MJ fashion, delivered the perfect line when they crossed paths again. "I couldn't have been too much of a hero to you if you crossed me like that." That game didn't change the Bulls' dominance. They still won 108-104, but it gave Iverson something more valuable than a win, an immortal clip. Even decades later, players still study that move in slow motion. It's taught in camps, broken down on YouTube, and celebrated as one of the most iconic one-on-one moments in NBA history. For Iverson, it was never about humiliating his idol. It was about proving he belonged on the same floor. But for everyone watching, it was a reminder that no one, not even Michael Jordan, was safe from the answer. Revenge in the NBA can be loud, shoves, trash talk, hard fouls. But in Allen Iverson's hands, it was something different. It was calculated, surgical, beautiful in its own way. Whether it was Dan Majerle's clamps in Miami, Tyronn Lue's finals taunt, Anthony Carter's forearm, or even Michael Jordan's offhand jab, Iverson answered in the only language he truly spoke, basketball. He didn't need to be the tallest or the strongest. He didn't need to bully you physically. His weapon was relentless, possession after possession, bucket after bucket, until you remembered exactly why poking him was a bad idea. Every slight became fuel. Every insult became a date circled in red on the mental calendar. And that's the thing. These 5 moments aren't just about getting even. They're about a man who refused to be anything less than himself for anyone, who, no matter the stage, the stakes, or the name on the other jersey, played every game like it was personal, because to him, it was. So decades later, when we talk about the coldest revenge in NBA history, his name doesn't just make the list, it defines it. Because Allen Iverson didn't just settle scores, he turned them into stories we're still telling. If you like this video, don't forget to press the subscribe button and ring the bell to not miss the latest videos from Amazing Hoops. Please leave your comments and suggestions below in the comments section, and don't forget to share this video with your friends. This action also motivates us to try harder. Have a nice day.
He always put life in perspective. I remember one time, we came in thinking we about to watch film on basketball, and he showed us a whole video of kids in a third world country, like 12 years old, training to be in the Army. He just said something like, y'all in the NBA, putting in perspective, like we been complaining about whatever it is we may be complaining about. But imagine if you had a kid that was over there, your kid was training for the Army. We are very privileged. So with that, give yourself grace when you think is hard.
When thinking of legendary sports figures, images of innate talent, years of rigorous training, and a glittering professional track record often come to mind. But what happens when someone with absolutely no professional experience steps into one of the most competitive arenas in the world and dominates it? How did a coach with a seemingly unremarkable start turn the NBA upside down and create a dynasty that humiliated seasoned rivals? This is the story of Gregg Popovich, a man who transformed from being an outsider to redefining excellence in professional basketball. But before we embark on today's video, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, NBA Legends. Thanks a lot for your support. To understand how he became a legendary coach, we must look back to a time when Popovich was not yet coaching basketball, but serving in the Air Force. Unlike many top coaches, basketball wasn't always Gregg Popovich's primary focus. After high school, he attended the United States Air Force Academy, where he played basketball for 4 years and became the team's leading scorer. He then served 5 years of active duty, including time in Eastern Europe and the Soviet Union as an intelligence officer. This experience provided him with a unique global perspective that later influenced his coaching style, setting him apart from other NBA staff and giving him a competitive edge. After leaving the Air Force, Gregg Popovich's coaching career started to take form. He initially served as an assistant basketball coach at the Air Force Academy, but in 1979, he got his big break as the head coach for the Pomona Pitzer Saguians. By the way, a sage hen is the largest grouse in North America and has a somewhat frizzy appearance. A more intriguing aspect of this period was his meeting with Larry Brown at the University of Kansas, which led to a strong friendship. Popovich even took a break during the 1985 to 1986 season to learn from Brown, who became his mentor. This relationship was crucial to Popovich's evolution as a coach and would become significant about 20 years later. But how did a college assistant coach transition to the NBA and become a head coach, especially without having pursued the necessary experience? In 1988, it was a game-changer when Larry Brown won the college championship and subsequently became the head coach of the San Antonio Spurs. He brought Gregg Popovich on board as an assistant, introducing him to his first NBA role. Popovich's strategic mind and ability to quickly connect with players left a strong impression. However, transitioning from assistant to creating a dynasty was a significant challenge. He needed to take bold actions to seize this opportunity. The question was how he would shape his destiny to realize his hidden ambitions and swiftly establish a winning culture that would resonate globally. Gregg Popovich is widely recognized as the longest-serving NBA coach, having spent 28 years with one team. Many may know that he started his head coaching career with the Spurs in 1996, but few anticipated the remarkable era of success that would follow. Initially, Popovich faced criticism and was even booed due to his lack of traditional qualifications for the role. His revered coaching reputation developed over time, despite being known by some as a media antagonist, alternating between rude and humorous responses. Popovich is genuinely admired by players throughout the league. Behind his stern exterior, he has a great sense of humor and can be quite amusing.
Look at that, lock up. That's what we do, Coach Pop. That is what we do. Yes, sir!
How did Gregg Popovich's career progress from 1988 to 1996? Regarding his assistant journey, when Brown left the sport in 1992, Gregg Popovich was the only staff member invited to stay in San Antonio. However, he chose to join the Golden State Warriors under the legendary coach Don Nelson. Eventually, he was enticed back to San Antonio with an irresistible offer not as a coach, but as the general manager in 1994. Was he qualified? Many NBA observers were skeptical, but the new owner was convinced. The reason for his hiring lay in Gregg Popovich's unique combination of basketball expertise, leadership abilities, and strategic intelligence. He envisioned a Spurs team focused not just on winning games, but on building a lasting culture of excellence and teamwork. Upon becoming the general manager, the Spurs hired coach Bob Hill in 1994. Although it might seem like Gregg Popovich was advancing by chance, something intriguing began to happen to his ambitions. Bob Hill had an impressive debut as head coach, leading the Spurs to a 62-win season, followed by 59 wins in his second year during the 1995 to 1996 season. Hill mentioned that in the first season, Gregg Popovich mostly stayed in his office, largely detached from the team. However, he noted, at the start of the second year, Popovich began to get a little bit more nosy, getting involved and making comments about this or that. Unfortunately, an injury to their star player, David Robinson, resulted in the team starting the third season with a record of 3 wins and 15 losses under Hill. This period marked the beginning of Gregg Popovich's transformation into Pop, a nickname attached to him for nearly 30 years. Following the game, Bob Hill was fired. Popovich got on the bus and informed the team that he would now be the coach, and they drove to the airport. Hill later stated, "He always wanted to be a coach. That was the first time we stumbled, or whatever you want to call it. It was the first time since I had been there. He just seized the opportunity to take over the team." Nevertheless, these things are best understood from a player's perspective. Dominique Wilkins, the legendary aging star, talked about Coach Popovich. He had the team's respect even before he became head coach. As the GM, he commanded respect. It wasn't an issue whether the players would respect or adapt to him. He held people accountable, and that was evident right away. He didn't tolerate guys loafing or laziness on the floor. He wanted you to play at a high level all the time. His whole philosophy was to get out there and work hard. Actually, Gregg Popovich didn't want to just be the general manager who brought in players without being able to shape the team to fulfill his vision. He had an innate passion for coaching, wanting to teach and have his teams play in a way he believed was the best path to victory. But what set Popovich apart from Bob Hill? How did he manage to keep the entire Spurs organization united behind him? He inspired them to embrace and find joy in playing under his leadership. While players enjoyed scoring and using Bob Hill's offensive strategies, Popovich emphasized defense and accountability. Similar to his mentor Larry Brown, Popovich approached the playbook as both a teacher and a military leader. Coach Popovich would only introduce a new play after the team had thoroughly mastered 5 existing ones. Once they had mastered the 6th, he would then add a 7th. He simplified the game and emphasized the joy of playing as a team, which was crucial because the Spurs were severely affected by injuries for the rest of the season. His defensive system was designed to be effective regardless of who was on the court, which was necessary given the uncertainty of player availability. However, the absence of key players like Robinson proved too challenging, and the Spurs ended up winning only 20 games, a stark contrast to their usual performance. Interestingly, this was the only time in the next 20 years that such a low win rate occurred. For the following 2 decades, the Spurs consistently won at least 50 games or maintained a 60% win rate during shortened seasons. How did Popovich manage to turn things around after such a difficult season and build a legendary career? When your team performs poorly, you often get the first draft pick, allowing you to select exceptional college talent like Tim Duncan. He was a quiet yet dominant power forward who teamed up with David Robinson, earning the nickname the Twin Towers. In their first season together, they combined their talents seamlessly, 2 generational big men who could have clashed without proper management. It's like having Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant on the same team. Rather, Coach Popovich fostered an environment where their skills complemented each other perfectly. This approach quickly delivered results as they reached the Western Conference semifinals before losing to the legendary Jazz team, who would later fall to Michael Jordan and the Bulls. You're probably thinking, like most championship teams, they needed another season to refine their skills, right? Perhaps reach the conference finals again and iron out any issues. But he really didn't need that. Despite not ranking high offensively, they were actually near the bottom. Their defense was outstanding, thanks to Robinson and Duncan, and was ranked first in the league. This combination of elite defense and efficient offense became a signature of Popovich's teams. Over the years, their offense improved significantly. It's rare to see such a perfect balance between defense and offense, and the 1999 season was when everything fell into place. Despite a lockout-shortened 50-game season, the Spurs excelled, finishing with a 3-7, 1-3 record. This pace suggested they could have achieved over 50 wins if they had played the full 82-game regular season. They carried this momentum into the playoffs, demonstrating their defensive prowess and team-oriented approach. They not only dominated the first round against the Timberwolves, but also dismantled the young Kobe and Shaq-led Lakers in the second round to reach the Western Conference Finals. There, they faced a determined Portland Trail Blazers team brimming with talent and championship aspirations, led by young stars like Rasheed Wallace. The Spurs' defense was relentless, holding Portland to under 80 points per game in a 4-game sweep. This paves the way for an NBA Finals showdown with the New York Knicks, who had been chasing a title for the entire decade and had reached the finals a few years earlier. The legendary battle never materialized, but the finals showcased a masterclass in Popovich's coaching philosophy. The Spurs' balanced attack overwhelmed the Knicks. Tim Duncan dominated the paint, while David Robinson provided veteran leadership and also excelled in the paint. Their role players made crucial contributions, leading to a 4-1 series victory and the Spurs' first NBA championship. For Popovich and the Spurs, this was more than just a trophy. It was a validation of their approach to the game, emphasizing defense and accountability. It demonstrated that a team could succeed at the highest level by prioritizing fundamentals and selfless play over individual stardom. However, Gregg Popovich wasn't satisfied with just one championship. He knew that to build a true dynasty, the Spurs needed to constantly evolve. He had to integrate all his ideas into a cohesive coaching strategy. As the NBA landscape altered with emerging superstars and evolving offensive schemes, the question remained, could he keep developing young talent while maximizing the output of his aging stars? And how would he handle the inevitable roster changes that come with sustained success in changing eras? When the new millennium began, the NBA landscape changed significantly. The Kobe-Shaq Lakers under Phil Jackson had become dominant, defeating them in the playoffs on their way to a 3-peat. Yet, the Spurs maintained their 50-win records and contender status. His ability to adapt his coaching style and team strategies to different eras was and is unparalleled. He understood that the game was evolving and that he needed to evolve with it. But how did he continue to win while other dynasties fell apart? The answer lay in Popovich's exceptional skill at maximizing the potential of both superstars and role players. He had a rare talent for recognizing each player's strengths and seamlessly integrating them into a cohesive system. This success stemmed from something deeper: his genuine care for his players as individuals, not just athletes.
Bro, when I first got there, it was crazy, like, just seeing Pop, like, you know, like, just seeing Pop when you watch, you hear so much about him, and then just seeing the players, like, bro, it's like you walk into the facility and you see all these banners, and you just feel the winning energy, you feel the culture as soon as you walk in, like, for real, like.
Just having him paying attention to what you're doing down there. It's not like you went down there and he forgot about you and doesn't care about you. Like, I would come back up and he would be talking to me about it and just let me know that they're still supporting me.
Despite his efforts and achievements for his players, even after earning a title, he faced criticism from legendary coaches like Phil Jackson. Jackson dismissed the 1999 title, claiming it wasn't legitimate due to the shortened season, and later referred to the Spurs coaching staff as the simulator crew, mocking Popovich's lack of experience and his seemingly lucky rise to head coach and championship success. Popovich, however, chose to ignore these criticisms and focused on proving them wrong through his accomplishments. A prime example is the transition from the David Robinson era to the Tim Duncan era. As Robinson aged, Popovich shifted the team's focus to Duncan, who became the franchise's cornerstone for years. Recognizing the need for a dynamic backcourt to complement Duncan's dominant post play, Popovich brought in Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili. Parker, a lightning-fast point guard from France, was drafted 28th in the 2001 draft. Manu Ginobili, who joined the Spurs in 2002 after being drafted in 1999, was an unconventional left-handed shooting guard from Argentina. Popovich recognized the potential in international players that other teams had overlooked, believing talent wasn't confined to North America. He took on the challenge of developing Ginobili into a star. This international influence became a hallmark of Popovich's future teams, as he embraced players from diverse backgrounds, understanding that basketball talent knows no borders. This approach was deeply connected to his Air Force days. The global strategy not only gave the Spurs a competitive edge, but also contributed to the internationalization of the NBA. Popovich's international scouting and adaptability as a coach translated into more championships by allowing him to create a sophisticated system that could exploit any opponent's weaknesses. The 2003 season perfectly illustrated this point. The Spurs concluded the regular season with a 6-0-2-2 record, ranking third in the league in defensive points allowed per game. Offensively, they weren't weak either, securing the 12th spot and showcasing a balance of top-tier defense and a more efficient offense than in 1999. Although they were only 12th in points scored, they ranked 7th in offensive rating, indicating that while they took fewer shots, they made more successful ones than all but 6 teams. Some coaches take decades to uncover this strategy. As the playoffs began, the Spurs faced a formidable challenge against the Shaq and Kobe-led Lakers, who were aiming for their 4th consecutive championship. Popovich and the Spurs recognized that fatigue would set in for the Lakers, revealing weaknesses. While dismantled might not be the precise term, this was indeed the end of the Lakers dynasty, and it was Popovich and the Spurs who brought it to a close. Tim Duncan dominated with 28 points and 12 rebounds per game while maintaining his signature elite defense. The Spurs defeated the Dallas Mavericks in the Western Conference Finals and triumphed over the New Jersey Nets in the NBA Finals, securing their 2nd championship. It may have seemed effortless from the outside, a testament to their greatness. This victory was especially meaningful for Popovich, as it signaled the end of David Robinson's legendary career and the dawn of a new era for the Spurs. Initially, when Popovich installed himself as the team's head coach, Robinson was not fully supportive. However, with this championship, the narrative began to shift, earning Popovich well-deserved recognition from the press.
Well, I loved Pop from the beginning because, Pop's a military guy, right? He, Air Force guy, no nonsense. He'll come in and tell you like it is. Doesn't care how you respond to it. He's going to tell you, what he thinks. And I like that. I don't like games. I don't want somebody coming in and fake yelling at me.
Right.
Tell me what's wrong and tell me whether you trust me or not. And so I liked Pop from the beginning. And Pop had to go through his own maturation stage. I think that first year, just figuring out how to manage the players and, how to kind of get things going in the right direction. But Pop had a vision. He knew what he wanted to accomplish. He knew how he wanted to accomplish it. And so guys started to buy into it. And so that really was the big turnaround. That was when things started falling into place.
As once a Navy man himself, Robinson respected Popovich and believed his vision, and everyone else followed suit. This led to the reward of 2 championships. Coach Popovich, however, was not satisfied with merely resting on his laurels after bringing consistent success to San Antonio. He understood that after many consecutive playoff appearances and 2 titles, most teams would eventually hit a decline, as seen with the Pistons, Bulls, and Lakers. With Robinson retired, Popovich needed to reinvent the team around Duncan, so he turned to Parker and Ginobili to create a new Big Three. By maintaining the successful system they had in place, this reinvention paid off. In 2005, they reached the finals again, facing the defending champion Detroit Pistons. This series was a battle of defensive powerhouses and reunited Popovich with his mentor, Larry Brown, who was eager to expand his own legacy after winning his first title. Here, Popovich showcased one of his hidden strengths, the ability to make critical in-game adjustments. The Spurs' balanced attack, driven by Duncan's post play, Parker's speed, and Manu Ginobili's creativity, overwhelmed the Pistons. Popovich's genius in drawing up plays at the end of games was on full display.
Here's Ginobili. Oh, they left open for 3. Long, you would think, and with the bum shoulder as well. Here he is, just clutch shot after clutch shot. The old story, the most dangerous guy is the guy out of bounds.
Getting the ball into the right player's hands was crucial, a detail Larry Brown failed to adjust. but Popovich mastered. In a thrilling 7-game series, the Spurs emerged victorious, winning their 3rd championship in 7 years. What made this victory even more remarkable was Popovich's ability to adapt the team's playing style in just 2 short years. While their defense remained strong, the Spurs became far more dynamic on offense. They utilized Tony Parker's speed and pick and roll plays and took advantage of Manu Ginobili's unpredictable playmaking to keep defenses off balance. Additionally, Popovich strategically increased the team's 3-point shooting, particularly from the corners, a spot he had recognized early on as the most efficient place to score quick points. The Spurs consistently led the league in corner 3-point attempts, a tactic that would reach its peak with their revolutionary 2014 offense, ultimately reshaping the modern NBA game. By now, everyone recognizes the importance of corner 3-point shooting, a tactic Popovich pioneered despite personally disliking the shot. This coach, once criticized for lacking experience and supposedly stealing his job, had built a dynasty while revolutionizing the game. He had already laid the foundation for an efficient offense by emphasizing one of basketball's most valuable shots. From the front office to the coaching staff and players on the court, everyone bought into Popovich's system, built on teamwork, selflessness, and constant improvement. Even after falling short in Game 7 of the 2006 Western Conference Finals, narrowly missing their 4th title, the Spurs stayed resilient. In 2007, they finished with a 5-8-2-4 record, ranking 2nd in defensive rating and 5th in offensive efficiency. This was becoming Popovich's hallmark. They faced Mike D'Antoni's Phoenix Suns in a legendary playoff series, marked by intense competition and controversial suspensions. But Popovich's Spurs prevailed by playing disciplined defense and slowing down the Phoenix Suns' high-tempo, speed-driven offense. They then advanced to encounter LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers in the NBA Finals. LeBron James was already a superstar at 18, but he aimed to solidify his legacy with his first championship. However, as always, Gregg Popovich had other plans. The series became another showcase of the Spurs' mastery of team basketball. By now, the formula was familiar: Tony Parker's speed, Manu Ginobili's creativity, and Tim Duncan's steady dominance. The Spurs swept the Cavaliers 4-0, earning their 4th championship in 9 years. Suddenly, everyone was discussing the Lakers' dynasty with 3 titles in 3 years. But here were the Spurs with the most titles since Michael Jordan's retirement. Yet, the journey wasn't entirely smooth. The NBA landscape was rapidly evolving. The Celtics decided they wanted to win and took the championship in 2008, followed by Kobe Bryant's Lakers winning the next 2 titles in 2009 and 2010. Despite these challenges and changes, Popovich's Spurs remained a model of consistency, making the playoffs every year and often securing a top seed in the Western Conference. During his career, Popovich evolved more than any other coach, mastering both offense and defense. But he knew that to sustain success, he needed something deeper, a coaching philosophy that transcended tactics. His challenge became perfecting a system so complete that the Spurs could continue to win while playing the most beautiful basketball imaginable. And while many would assume that success starts with game strategies, Popovich would be the first to say that it goes far beyond what happens on the court.
If you don't know how to draw a play, or you don't know what to do out of bounds, or at the end of a game, well, then you probably shouldn't be coaching. So I assume we all know that stuff. There's no magic. I don't have any secret plays.
Gregg Popovich's true power lies in his exceptional ability to manage personalities and keep his team motivated year after year. He knew when to push his players and when to ease off. He occasionally brought players like Tony Parker to tears.
Has Pop ever made you cry?
Hell yeah. A couple of times, my rookie year. He's a tough coach to play for. He's very demanding.
Despite that, he also adapted his approach when needed. Popovich built a culture of accountability where everyone from star players to benchwarmers was expected to contribute. This sometimes involved tough love, delivered with sharp wit and sarcasm. While other coaches chased superstar talent, Popovich quietly perfected a different formula. But what exactly made his coaching philosophy so unique and enduring? His strategy went beyond X's and O's. Though recognized as a basketball genius, Popovich's offensive brilliance fully emerged later in his career, particularly with the revolutionary 2014 Spurs offense. However, his defensive mastery was apparent from the start. Between 1998 and 2017, his teams ranked in the top 5 in defensive ratings for 14 seasons, despite evolving rosters and changing eras. Popovich's military background likely influenced his systematic approach. He drilled his teams to excel at defensive switches and effectively use zone defenses to disrupt opponent. This adaptability allowed him to adjust game plans throughout the grueling playoff series. One of his signature strategies involved creating defensive mismatches. Instead of rigidly matching players by position point guard against point guard, or shooting guard against shooting guard, he assigned his best defenders to guard key ball handlers, regardless of height differences, as long as they could execute effectively. This flexible, innovative approach was central to the Spurs' sustained dominance. While he has utilized zone defenses, he also creates opportunities where players like Manu Ginobili can effectively cover areas on their own, leading to easy turnovers. Of course, there is more complexity from season to season, but much of this execution is rooted in Popovich's overarching coaching philosophy, which revolves around 3 key principles. The most fundamental is a strong emphasis on basic skills. This approach was so renowned that Tim Duncan earned the nickname the Big Fundamental. Popovich relentlessly drilled his teams on basketball basics, from proper footwork to accurate passing. This focus on essentials allowed the Spurs to carry out straightforward game plans with remarkable efficiency, even under the intense pressure of competition, as they could act instinctively without overthinking. Secondly, this approach cultivated a team-first mentality, epitomized by his powerful mantra, "Pound the rock." This idea emphasized persistence and gradual progress over time. He ensured his team understood that initial attempts might not yield the desired results, but through perseverance, they would eventually achieve a breakthrough, akin to striking the one blow that shatters the rock, leading to another NBA title. This philosophy was crucial when managing a team with high expectations and demands during playoffs, highlighting the importance of character alongside talent. Popovich often prioritized players with strong work ethics, humility, and a team-first attitude over more talented but potentially disruptive personalities. This approach fostered a locker room culture that was admired throughout the league, where players fully committed to the team's shared goals and values. This cultural foundation played a critical role in the Spurs' enduring success. Gregg Popovich's distinctive philosophy was clear in his management of players, treating everyone from superstars to benchwarmers with equal respect and accountability, a principle he established from the start in 1996. This equitable approach also extended to the Spurs' offensive playing style. Coach Popovich stressed ball movement and unselfish play, creating an offense where everyone had the chance to touch the ball and contribute, regardless of the era. This style not only made the Spurs exceptionally challenging to defend, but also kept all players engaged and committed to the team's success, leaving no room for egos.
It starts with the character and the no egos. A lot of credit goes to Dave Robinson and Tim Duncan.
Yep.
For them to be able to be that humble and to be coachable, allow themselves to be coached that way, allowed everybody else to fall in line and be coached that way.
Yeah, I like that.
They find guys, character people in weird places that are really good at what they do basketball-wise, but even better people and that are selfless.
Yeah.
And it's all about the group.
Despite their winning philosophy and continued success in the regular season, the Spurs faced a significant challenge from the Miami Heat super team. LeBron James, determined to avenge against the Spurs in 2007, and in pursuit of his first championship, joined forces with Dwyane Wade, who was aiming to relive his 2006 NBA championship glory to dominate the league. Could Gregg Popovich's strategies stand up in this new NBA environment? Could a coach with 4 titles already to his name reinvent himself once more as the league shifted towards more three-point shooting and faster-paced play? Popovich adapted, as he always did, but when defense alone couldn't contain these new offenses, it became necessary to boost scoring as well. He empowered his top shooters while maintaining a strong defensive identity. The ongoing evolution of the Spurs and Popovich reached its peak in 2014. However, to truly appreciate the magic of the 2014 Spurs under Popovich, one must look back at the heartbreak of 2013, a disappointment that might have crushed other teams. After years without reaching the finals and facing playoff eliminations, the Spurs found themselves on the brink of another championship. With a mix of young talent, including the championship experienced Kawhi Leonard and veteran players still alongside Popovich's legendary Big Three, they were mere seconds away from securing their 5th title since 1999. They led the Miami Heat super team 3-2 in the series, and were up by 5 points with just 28 seconds left in Game 6. LeBron James nailed a clutch three-pointer, the Spurs missed crucial free throws, and Ray Allen sank one of the most iconic shots in NBA history, tying the game and propelling the Heat to a Game 7 victory. While such a devastating loss could have shattered many teams, it undeniably broke the Spurs. "I've never seen our team so broken," Tony Parker admitted, revealing how the defeat drained him mentally. But Popovich wasn't about to let this setback define them. Instead, he used the painful loss as motivation, reigniting the team's focus on their ultimate goal. "As the summer wore on, I got angrier and angrier," Popovich recalled. "I wanted to pull the guys back together, appeal to them, and challenge them. I wanted to ask them, when you're kicked in the gut, how will you respond?" His players responded with unwavering commitment. Tim Duncan vowed to return, Manu Ginobili promised to re-sign, and Tony Parker pledged his loyalty. United by a shared hunger for redemption, the Spurs returned stronger, more determined, and more unified than ever. But how would this hunger manifest on the court? How did they transform their play into what many consider the most beautiful basketball ever witnessed? The 2014 regular season provided a definitive answer. The Spurs finished with a league-best 6-2-2-0 record, a classic Gregg Popovich achievement, showcasing an exceptional blend of defense and offense that was nearly impossible to counter. This stellar performance earned Popovich's 3rd Coach of the Year award. But it wasn't just the impressive record that made this team special, it was how they accomplished it. The Spurs' ball movement was mesmerizing, their unselfish play was a masterclass in teamwork. They led the league in assists, averaging 25.2 per game. But it wasn't just about quantity, it was the quality of those passes. The Spurs made the extra pass seem effortless, always finding the open man for the best possible shot. If someone had a good shot, they'd pass it up for a better one. If there were a better shot, they'd pass again for the perfect one. Their precision was almost telepathic. Passes were delivered before players even reached their spots. Despite this offensive brilliance, their scoring distribution was remarkably balanced. Unlike teams relying on 1 or 2 stars to carry the offense, nearly everyone on the Spurs contributed on both ends of the floor. They didn't need anyone to drop 50 points to win games. In fact, the team had only 7 30-point performances throughout the season. This approach reflected Popovich's next-level team cohesion. While star-driven teams often struggled to make the playoffs, the Spurs thrived with collective effort. But how did Popovich keep his players committed to such selfless, consistent play game after game?
But you got to play the right way. That means play hard and execute wisely. The effort in transition, the effort on the board, physicality in the half-court offense, and then pace back and play unselfishly. It's called basketball. Nothing hard about it.
Combining their offensive brilliance with Popovich's defensive mastery and coaching philosophy, the Spurs embarked on an unforgettable playoff run. They faced the Dallas Mavericks in the first round, overcoming some uncharacteristic mistakes that allowed the series to stretch to 7 games. This served as a much-needed wake-up call. Refocused, they swept the Portland Trail Blazers 4-0 with ease. In the Western Conference Finals, the Spurs battled the Oklahoma City Thunder, led by rising stars Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, both future MVPs. Though the Thunder pushed them, San Antonio prevailed in 6 games. The stage was set for a rematch, with the Miami Heat in the NBA Finals, an opportunity for the Spurs to solidify their legacy at the peak of their powers. In Game 1, the Spurs secured a 1-1-0-9-5 victory, despite a malfunctioning air conditioning system that caused LeBron James to suffer severe cramps in the 4th quarter. San Antonio played as if LeBron were still at full strength, delivering a record-breaking offensive display, shooting 14 of 16 from the field in the final quarter. In Game 2, LeBron bounced back, leading the Heat to a narrow 2-point victory. Despite a strong start from the Spurs, clutch plays from Miami, including a crucial 3-pointer in the final minute, tied the series at 1-1. Then Popovich's Spurs unleashed their full potential. In Game 3, Kawhi Leonard exploded for 29 points, leading San Antonio to a dominant 19-point win. Their offense was unstoppable, setting a new shooting efficiency record in the first half, leaving the Heat stunned and giving the Spurs a crucial 2-1 series lead. During the press conference that year, Gregg Popovich stated, "I don't think we'll ever shoot 76% in a half ever again." Game 3 showcased the Spurs' breathtaking style of play for all to see. In Game 4, they dominated once again, winning by nearly 20 points. This time, San Antonio's suffocating defense neutralized Miami, preventing LeBron James from taking control as he had in Game 2. By Game 5, the Spurs were ready to finish the job. Despite trailing early, their depth and relentless teamwork overwhelmed the Heat, sealing a decisive victory and completing their redemption arc. They secured their 5th NBA title, avenging the heartbreaking loss of 2013. Kawhi Leonard earned Finals MIP honors for his exceptional two-way performance, often frustrating LeBron James with his defensive brilliance while shining offensively. Popovich's offensive system, built on seamless ball movement and precise passing, left Miami's defense completely disoriented. The Heat simply couldn't keep up, as San Antonio played the most efficient offensive basketball the finals had ever seen. The defense had already cemented Popovich's legacy, but in 2014, his offense elevated his team to legendary status. This was the beautiful game at its finest. Looking ahead, Popovich had seemingly achieved everything he'd worked toward since 1996. His Spurs embodied the pinnacle of what team basketball could be, leaving a lasting impact on the NBA. Teams across the league, including the Golden State Warriors, who would go on to dominate the latter half of the decade, openly credited the 2014 Spurs as a major influence on their ball movement-oriented playing style. For Popovich, his focus shifted beyond merely chasing championships as he embraced a new coaching role. The Spurs continued their success under Kawhi Leonard after their 2014 title, maintaining their competitive edge until their 50-win streak and 22-year playoff run came to an end. Leonard eventually left San Antonio and won another championship elsewhere, while Duncan Parker and Ginobili retired. Popovich transitioned to mentoring the next generation of players. He demonstrated a rare ability to both develop and teach young talent while skillfully assembling the right pieces to form a winning team. Unlike coaches who excel in only one of these areas, such as Larry Brown's development focus or Phil Jackson's team-building expertise, Popovich mastered both. Even in his 70s, Popovich remained driven, seeking another championship with a new generation of Spurs players, including a promising big man who could reshape the league's future. Yet debates persist, with some arguing that Larry Brown's 2004 Pistons title was a more remarkable coaching achievement than Popovich's legendary 2014 Spurs championship. So how about you? What is your opinion about Popovich's victory in 2014? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section below. Beyond the impressive achievements in the NBA, Gregg Popovich's tenure as the head coach of the U.S. national basketball team is also a testament to his exceptional leadership and strategic acumen. Appointed in 2016, Popovich faced the daunting task of maintaining the team's legacy of excellence on the international stage. His journey with the national team was marked by both challenges and triumphs, showcasing his ability to adapt and inspire. One of the most notable achievements under his leadership was guiding the team to a gold medal at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, held in 2021 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This victory was particularly significant as it came after a disappointing 7th-place finish at the 2019 FIBA Basketball World Cup, the worst in the team's history. Popovich's approach to coaching the national team was characterized by his emphasis on defense, teamwork, and adaptability. He brought the same principles that had made him successful with the San Antonio Spurs to the international arena. His ability to manage egos and foster a sense of unity among a roster filled with NBA stars was crucial. Popovich's leadership was instrumental in navigating the team through the unique challenges posed by the pandemic, including limited preparation time and the absence of key players. Despite these obstacles, he managed to instill a sense of purpose and resilience in the team, leading them to overcome a strong French team in the final to secure the gold medal. One of the key aspects of Popovich's success with the U.S. national team was his ability to make in-game adjustments and strategic decisions. His experience and tactical knowledge were evident in the way he managed the team's rotations and defensive schemes. Popovich's emphasis on fundamentals and his ability to adapt his strategies to the strengths of his players were critical in ensuring the team's success. His calm demeanor and ability to stay composed under pressure were also vital in guiding the team through close and high-stakes games. The gold medal victory in Tokyo was a testament to his ability to lead and inspire, even in the face of adversity. Beyond the tactical and strategic aspects, Popovich's tenure with the national team also highlighted his commitment to player development and mentorship. He used his platform to not only win games but also to impart valuable lessons to the players about teamwork, discipline, and the importance of representing their country with pride. Popovich's influence extended beyond the court, as he fostered a culture of respect and camaraderie among the players. His ability to connect with players on a personal level and his dedication to their growth as both athletes and individuals were key factors in his success. Under his leadership, the U.S. national basketball team not only achieved remarkable success, but also embodied the values of sportsmanship and excellence that Popovich has championed throughout his career. Apart from his impressive coaching career, Popovich is also known for his extensive humanitarian work. One of Popovich's most notable contributions is his long-standing support for the San Antonio Food Bank. Since meeting the organization's president and CEO, Eric Cooper, in 2001, Popovich has been a tireless advocate for addressing childhood hunger in the San Antonio area. He has served as a volunteer, advisory board member, spokesperson, and fundraiser, playing a crucial role in the food bank's growth and success. Popovich's involvement has ranged from leading capital campaigns to ensuring that healthy food reaches families in need. Not only that, Popovich has been a vocal supporter of the Innocence Project, an organization dedicated to exonerating wrongfully convicted individuals. His commitment to justice and fairness is evident in his support for this cause, which aligns with his broader advocacy for social justice. Popovich has also partnered with Shoes That Fit, an organization that provides shoes to children in need. His efforts have helped deliver shoes to over 200 students at Gates Elementary School, particularly those affected by Hurricanes Irma and Maria. Popovich's humanitarian work extends beyond these specific projects. He has been a strong advocate for the Black Lives Matter movement and has used his platform to speak out against racism and inequality. His willingness to address these issues publicly and candidly has earned him respect and admiration from many. Popovich's actions demonstrate that his commitment to making a positive impact goes far beyond the basketball court. His leadership and compassion have inspired others to join him in his efforts to create a more just and equitable society. In a nutshell, Gregg Popovich's journey from an inexperienced coach to a legendary figure in the NBA is a testament to the power of vision, adaptability, and resilience. His unique blend of military discipline and profound understanding of basketball allowed him to create a culture of excellence within the San Antonio Spurs. Popovich's ability to cultivate talent, whether through nurturing young players or maximizing the potential of seasoned stars, set him apart in a league often dominated by superstars. His innovative strategies, particularly in ball movement and defensive prowess, not only led to 5 championships but also revolutionized how basketball is played today. By fostering a team-first mentality and emphasizing fundamentals, he instilled a sense of accountability and camaraderie among his players. Ultimately, Popovich's legacy transcends mere victories. It lies in his profound influence on the sport, inspiring future generations to prioritize teamwork, respect, and the joy of the game. We've reached the end of today's video. Thanks so much for watching. If you found our content engaging, a thumbs up and sharing it with your loved ones would be much appreciated. Make sure to subscribe to NBA Legends and turn on the notification bell for updates on our latest videos. Your support is everything to us. Take care and see you soon.